Yo, what up, guys? This is Donald here along with my co-host Alex. Thank you so much for downloading and listening to our show.
Before we get started, I got to ask you to please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, screenshot and tag us on Twitter and Instagram. We're at the West Box Score. Our social links will also be in the show notes for you to follow us. D-Bot, we got some Trafico talk today.
Yeah, a lot of it.
I mean, some people would say too much, but too much of a good thing is always enough, right?
Yeah, it is.
Also, Sunny Amato's on Twitter and Instagram. He's at The Fox Crate. Check out his podcast along with Primo Rick. If you had to describe it in 3 words, D-Bot, how would you describe it?
And I'd say it's vinyl meets culture.
Vinyl in this corner, culture in this corner. They come out swinging and meet in the middle, and it's called The Fox Crate Podcast.
Yes, exactly. We'll have their links on our show notes as well, guys.
Also, be sure to join our ever-growing Discord group. Check the invite link in our show notes. Shout-outs to Big Money, Matt Boz, Billy Delgado, Nahum Galdames, Parker McDaniels, Brianna Flores, JV Ortiz, Rick Esparza, and I guess Clipper Pablo's there.
Yep. Check out the invite link. We have that in our show notes as well. And finally, check out Sailor's Brew Coffee. They're a local roastery here in Pasadena, California, focused on single origin Ethiopian coffees and luxury coffees. They stand for positive motivation and are advocates for appreciating and experiencing coffee for how it's meant to be, with no additives. Our listeners will get 10% off their first order using our code WBS10, that is WBS10 as in West Box Score 10, to get 10% off. And we'll also have an affiliate link that's also going to be in our show notes. If you click that link, please, it helps us out here on the podcast. And you can get yourself some great coffee. Now, guys, it's time for the show.
Boom. What's up, D-Bot?
Yo, what's going on, man?
Everything's going on. We're live drafting as we're recording this podcast right now. How crazy is that?
I know, right? It's like we knew we wanted to do this episode on the El Trafico, and at the same time it's like we're like anything, we try to get our schedules together, and it was like, okay, let's do it Monday night, and then it's like, oh shoot, I'm the commissioner of this fantasy league that I decided to start for the podcast, and yeah, it's like right on the same night. But then at the same time but I also want to talk about El Trafico because time flies and you want to do it, it's still fresh in my mind, the emotions of it and everything. So yeah, dude, it's crazy. But yeah, we are also live drafting our West Box Score fantasy football league. And shout out to all those that joined it. We got a couple listeners on there. Billy Delgado, Nahum, Big Money Matt, our very own Rick Esparza from the Lucha Royale is on there. Yeah, we got a couple other people on there. Can't come up with all of them. But yeah, they're like, we got like 10 people that are ready to go. And we'll see how this goes, man.
That's super dope, man. This is the official West Box Score Fantasy League. Yes. Commissioner D-Bot right here. So bring up all your complaints when people start dumping trades and doing all that afterwards. You got to bring it up with the Commissioner D-Bot right here. I got a feeling the algorithm's going to be slanted his way. Yeah. Because remember what last time a commissioner was involved in fantasy football? What was it? A. Martinez.
Oh yeah.
MPR's own A. Martinez.
MPR's own,
for our fantasy for our fantasy hockey. And of course, he won the whole league. So
I know
the smart money right now, before the season has started, is on Donald Paz. It's got to be on D-Bot, right? Like, that's what I think. Everybody's handicapping you as the favorite, the Vegas odds to win it all. So
yeah.
But it's gonna be fun though, man. As we were talking right before we started rolling, this is the most fun I have playing fantasy football. When it comes to the actual league itself, I really don't know many players. I mainly follow the LA Rams, as you guys know. I'm a real homer when it comes to the NFL. I just want to see my team play and play well against the teams that I'm familiar with, But players going deep down the line, finding the sleeper picks, that's not me. The draft is the only time I'm excited for fantasy football because I'm awaiting my next pick and hoping that guy that I have pegged to draft next is still available. And twice tonight, that's happened where at 2 picks right before I was going to pick that guy, gone, off the board. And once was our own Rick Esparza, who drafted the Rams kicker, Matt Gay, right before me. So Thanks a lot, Rick. You're a jerk.
Oh, wow.
So I love that's obviously my favorite part of any kind of fantasy football or fantasy sports draft. This is the most exciting. The rest
So no
of the
shout
season,
out to LA Bison.
yeah, he's LA Bison. I believe I'm foosball holics. So we have to come up with stupid names for fantasy football. That's kind of the criteria also. So I was trying to find the Foos Gone Wild guy, the clown right there, and put him on my thing. So I thought that was kind of funny. So we'll see. That's all coming down later on the official West Box Score Fantasy league that we're going to. We'll talk about that on the show and of course on our Twitter and Instagram feeds. So be on the lookout for that. But now we got to get started with the game of football, world football.
Yeah.
But here in the United States, it's Major League Soccer, and the big rivalry week that happened was pitted LA Galaxy at the Bank of California Stadium to take on LAFC. And as you said earlier, Donald, one of the hardest things about putting on our podcast together is everybody's schedule. Sonny Hermano, LAFC's number one fan, not on the podcast today when he should be, to just really talk up his team that are winless in their last 9, or is it 8 games? 8 games. Oh, I'm looking into the future a little bit. Sorry, Sonny. Winless in their last 8 games. Both of these teams going into a Trafico needed the win, right? The Galaxy were coming off 2 straight home losses.
Yeah.
And just brutal home losses where they did not look good. One was, of course, last week in the Cali Clásico. Diba and I were both in attendance for it. And it was just, it was brutal. It was a hard game to watch. And when the Galaxy opened the scoring, I was really, because off that corner kick, it was, it looked like an own goal, like off of a San Jose defender, at least from my angle. But apparently it was an Olímpico that Victor Vasquez kicked into from the corner kick, man.
Yeah.
So I really couldn't appreciate it, right? I look at it on the replay. It's like, oh, damn, well, at least we got in. And even the announcers, goal scored by San Jose. Everybody starts like, wait a minute. Do we cheer? Do we not cheer? Are we not supposed to?
Yeah.
So it was weird, but no, that was like the one highlight of that game. The other, 89, 30 minutes and 30 seconds were tough to watch as a Galaxy fan, right, D-Bot?
Yeah, it was. I was at this game in person, and I mean, I know that there's been a lot of complaints lately with the whole attendance, being a little down. And then on top of that, like the games, they're not winning them. So then the energy just feels that much more lower. But definitely this game was very awkward to watch for me. I get that it's a Cali Clásico. It's supposed to be the first original California rivalry. And for the most part, it didn't really feel like it. I understand some people are, it's kind of funny. It's like a split thing happening where some fans are like, the Galaxy should always show out, like, even if it is against San Jose, because they got to remember that. And then there's other fans who are like, yeah, like this is just another season game. Like they should win, yes, but this is not El Tráfico, which is kind of the weird thing. I don't know. I guess maybe that's how you justify that you lost, that it's just whatever. But at the end of the day, like it just feels like this team has the tactics and the talent to really be able to take care of a team like San Jose. But for whatever reason, they didn't. And you felt it in the field. Like, you just felt like this team had no direction as to what to go. And like you mentioned, the Vasquez was an own goal. I remember that goal happening. I was right up behind the goal box. And I kind of was like, if you blink, you miss it. And then all of a sudden you see them celebrating, but I didn't see how the ball went in. But somehow it's already in the net. And then they played the replay, and I'm just like, oh. And then it just felt awkward after that. And then the announcer made it worse. So, yeah.
And what's tough, too, about these 2 home losses is they came on the heels of a big road win in Minnesota. So you think they have all kind of momentum. The next 2 games are at home, and they're big games at home. One was against Colorado during the week. That was Colorado at that point was right behind them in the standings. So, of course, they lost ground. And they kept losing ground when they lost to San Jose later on that week. And so after those 2 home losses, it's like, man, they really got to right the ship. And the only way to do that is a big win against your rivals coming up against the Trafico. But before they got to a Trafico, that we had the MLS Skills Challenge and MLS All-Star Game at the Bank of California Stadium. MLS Skills Challenge. You and I also attended that live in person, right?
Yeah, that was cool. That was my first time at the Bank of California too, so it was
What'd
really
you
cool.
think?
I like it. It looks nice. Like obviously it's new. It looks brand new. The architecture is really nice. I'll give them props for that. The architecture is really well designed. It feels like a soccer field, a soccer stadium of the future almost.
Mhm.
The only thing I would say I don't like is just the fact that it's in South LA. It's super crowded. Like parking was a nightmare, and yeah, it just really congested that whole area because you're like
Mhm.
right next to the 110 and everything. So it's a really congested neighborhood. I used to live right there too on Exposition and Hoover.
Mhm.
So I know that area very well. But it was the only thing that I didn't like was just how cluttered and crowded it felt. But that's just because that's South LA, or South Central LA, I should say. I know South LA is kind of like what you say if you're a gentrifier. But
Well, that's
yeah.
fitting for LAFC, but go ahead.
Yeah, but for the most part, it was cool. As far as like the stadium, it looks nice. It looks clean. Like
Yeah.
the flooring's nice. It's a nice stadium for sure.
It's like you say, it's newer, it's shinier than what we're used to over in Carson, part of LA.
Yeah,
So, yeah, but I'm with you. I agree with you. And that's one of the big things that a lot of LAFC fans say versus when they talk up their stadium versus the LA Galaxy Stadium. Oh, it's so far. It's so out of the way. There's no public transit that takes you down there. I tried to take public transit from where I live to the Bank of California Stadium. There were only buses, which would take me over an hour. And it would, yes, it would have left me sort of in the front of the Bank of California Stadium, but I thought one of their big points was like, oh, it's right off the expo line. I couldn't find a way to get it. So I'm like, okay, well, I have to drive now. And luckily I drove early enough to I really wanted to catch like some kind of the skills challenge festivity. So I left early, and luckily I was able to find some street parking because the Bank of California Stadium was charging $40 to park at the venue. It's just nuts because of LA, downtown LA. It's going to be more expensive. This looks now paying for $20 for parking at Dignity House over in Carson seems like a freaking deal now compared to what's going on over that Bank of California Stadium. So it's one of those things that doesn't make any those big pluses versus minuses of LAFC Stadium versus Galaxy Stadium doesn't make sense here, in the sense where like there's public transit, kind of, but not really. You have to drive. Same thing you have to do over to Dignity Health in Carson. And once you're there, you're going to pay less for parking there. So, I mean, listen, man, if you're kind of making arguments that your stadium is better than ours, it's just newer and shinier. Give it some time. Give yourself some time in the league, and you'll see that your stadium gets a little outdated at some point. And the next, maybe once the Galaxy move from their stadium in Carson to somewhere else on the outskirts of LA, because of course the Galaxy never play in LA, Sonny. We know that. So maybe they'll play somewhere. Maybe they'll go to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. How about that? So they could call them the Inglewood Galaxy at that point.
Yeah.
That's a newer, very shiny stadium. I know firsthand because I saw those bookies there this past Friday, man. Freaking beautiful stadium.
That was nice.
Beautiful stadium, man. Gotta say.
Man.
But I digress. We were talking about El Trafico. That's right. So let's talk about El Trafico, Donald. I was very fortunate enough, shout out to my cousin, Joseph Garcia, who's an LAFC season ticket holder, which you guys know, I've talked about in previous podcasts. I've been to 2 LAFC games in the past now, this being my third time's the charm. I could finally go see a game at the Bank of California Stadium and be able to cheer for a team that's on the field there. So I wore my Galaxy whites. It was lovely to see. Luckily, my cousin's seats are in the 100 level, but right above where my cousin's seats are is this away supporter section. So I could see from my seats and hear very loudly the LA Galaxy supporters who were just screaming and yelling throughout 90 minutes, man. It was lovely. They never stopped. There's some stupid video on social media saying, oh, look at how quiet they are. I'm like, are you sure this wasn't halftime and you guys are superimposing some other stuff? Because like, listen how loud 3252 is over there. And I'm like, you guys got real quiet after we scored that goal. I'm like, I just see them standing around, not really looking at anything. So I really feel there is some fake news going on. I'm not going to get my tinfoil hat on right now, but I feel like this is some conspiracy parlor stuff that they're putting out there, some propaganda. I have no proof, just allegations. It's just, you saw this game, right? Live, Donald. What did you think?
Yeah, I did see this game, and it delivered. For me, it delivered. It was high energy. You could tell that both teams were really going at it. It felt like if you were to watch that game on its own, you would have thought that both teams had just won like their last 5 matches and they're just on fire for this 6th win. And instead, it's like both teams were pretty much struggling. And this was like the one game where they felt like they needed to really get up for it, and they did. So as a viewer, it was cool. The only thing I had a knock on was Stu Holden from Fox, who we all had to listen to. And for the most part, he's pretty good at what he does as far as like calling out the game and calling out and making commentary and everything.
He's good for a hot take.
Yeah. I think that my only knock on him is just I just kind of wish he wouldn't have like he sometimes comes off like he has a bit of an arrogant vibe when he speaks about certain plays, like almost like he's trying to tell you like, oh, like here I am calling this MLS game and I should or be over there like at NBC calling Premier League games or something. And because he talks about like all these things and all the tactics. He talks like as if he's a coach as well, and I think that's where it gets a little off-putting because no one really knows you for that. People know you just for being like this like guy who probably watches soccer enough to call it and whatnot, but not like you're a former like medal winning or cup winning guy that like all of a sudden is coming in and kind of giving off all these remarks about like how I don't know, just all the way he just speaks. It just comes off very like he's above the MLS or something. It's weird. But
I love that you calling into question Stu Holden's like credibility, like the record of his credibility. He played for Houston Dynamo. I'm looking him up now on Wikipedia as because I'm aware of him, but like, and I'm sure I confuse him and some other guy that's on Fox. Maybe it's ESPN. The guy, I think it is ESPN. He's another guy who I wish I remembered his name, but he also comes up with some hot takes. I feel like it's something with a C, but it's interesting, right? Because that's what by proxy, we're like really distant from media people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our takes are I feel like we're pretty fair. Like of course we have biases I would fully say that. Like I love the Galaxy. I love the Dodgers. I love this. I love the Lakers. Like I'm going to always be, a bias toward those teams, and I make no bones about it. And it kind of feels like these people are supposed to be unbiased in their roles, but they show it. Even though they're supposed to be impartial. Like I believe you were saying that Stu Holden didn't want to let go of the questionable call 30 seconds into the game of El Trafico, where Rossi was in the box. Julian Araujo went for a tackle, supposedly clipped part of his foot and made the Rossi trip in the box, which would have been a penalty kick. That, of course, wasn't called, and I actually got video of it during the start of the game, and I believe you posted it on our West Box Score Twitter page with the whole VAR effect to it, and let our Twitter followers decide. A lot of comments, a lot of tweets and retweets from it, but I think the popular consensus is that they think Julian Araujo did trip Rossi, and it's funny because I don't see it, at least on the foot area. Maybe I guess there's a lot of saying that he tripped, he had to have hit him. But what's to say he didn't take a dive? Like, I don't see any contact. Mind you, my angle's not the best either. I'm not super close. I'm on the other side because the leg that didn't make contact is on the other side of his body. So maybe his foot, maybe his leg that's closer to me is blocking where the actual contact's happening. So like all VAR, when we look at it, it needs to be clear and obvious opposite of call from what is called on the field. And since they didn't call it on the field, it can't be a penalty. It can't be overturned, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's it, Sonny. That's how soccer works.
Yeah, that was the thing in the broadcast. It was like minute 10 and Stu Holden just like let's watch that play again.
Oh my God,
that
really?
was an obvious
Jesus.
penalty right there. I mean, and it's kind of like, bro, like at this point, like it's long gone, bro. Like you're
Get
and
over it.
and it's kind of like, dude, is the game not currently happening
She
as you're
dumped
watching
you,
it?
bro. Get over it.
Why aren't you talking about what's currently happening in the game? I mean, if it's a lull part for you, then that's a lull part for you. That's your job to still make it exciting, regardless if it's like a lull in the match. Like there's like, sometimes there's some minutes where you could tell like both teams are a little bit like out of it, and then they get back into it. You know what I mean? That's why I mean, again, the other day I was listening to, I forgot which match it was, but it was an LAFC match, and it was on radio with Dave Denholm. And that guy's just by himself, and that guy makes it sound like super exciting. He makes every second sound exciting, and it was just it's a lot better listening to that guy. I mean, but yeah, it was just a little bothersome with that because it just made you feel like, okay, dude, like like the game's still going, like they're about to hit the 15th minute, like maybe you should talk about how do you feel so far about this game, like how do you feel what you're seeing on the field, like do you think that the who's pressuring who's things like that, instead of like, oh, like let's talk about that one thing that wasn't really clear and obvious. Like even if Araujo did hit him, I guess it was a good hit because you got away with it, and that's kind of smart, right? I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah, I really feel that Julian Araujo had like one of the better games he's had in a while in this Trafico match, and he's just continuing every day to improve his defense, and it's really amazing. I'm glad that call wasn't made because I didn't feel it was a penalty, especially. I mean, in the moment, I did. It's hard to tell when it's happening in real time and you're kind of in the moment there as a fan. You're not really watching for like, oh, that's definitely a penalty call. But I love all the LAFC fans, of course, screaming for it because they see it with their hearts also too. As I saw it with my heart, like, oh, no way. Yeah. So I immediately after they didn't call anything, I started singing, ay, 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 canta, no llores. Like, dude, my voice was so gone after this match because I was screaming, yelling back at LAFC fans. They were giving us the business. My cousin, of course, who's an LAFC fan, was just screaming, doing all his chants to counter with, to sing along with 3252. Yeah. So I, of course, have to do the Galaxy version because I could hear the supporters above me singing. So I'm just singing along with them. So, it was an awesome atmosphere live. Oh, it had to be, man. It had to be. And this is breaking news, just so you know. The next Trafico match is October 3rd in Carson, Dignity Health Sports Park. D-Bot and I will be there, along with Rick and along with my cousin, Joseph Garcia. He's a big LAFC season ticket holder, so it's going to be great for him to be there. Yeah, he protected me there. I didn't do a good job protecting Sonny last time we all went. So now I got to protect him the way he protected me. I mean, and it wasn't crazy. I got to tell you, it was actually really calm. Inside the stadium. Believe it or not, it was. When we first got there, there's a long line to get refreshments. So we were in line for that. And there was already one scuffle. There was like back and forth screaming between Galaxy and LAFC fans, and security was quick, pulled them apart. Like, no, you guys ain't doing any of that there. And I'm like, come on, guys, let's not have that kind of day. I will say I didn't see any scuffling, but what I did see, I didn't like, so I got to call us out a little bit here as LA Galaxy supporters. Okay. The first goal was scored by the Galaxy, right? And of course, the supporter section goes nuts above us. And they start throwing, like, I just see water flying, like water balls flying up in the air and landing below. And like, oh, man, like, that's not good. It was not a good look. And of course, LAFC fans are like, what the hell? F you guys, blah, blah, blah. A lot of fingers back and forth and gesturing back and forth.
Yeah.
And so, of course, when in the second half, when LAFC scored, there's that flipping off back and forth, the whole verbal, this and that, the DX suck it chops. Okay, cool. That's okay. And but I noticed some balls being thrown back up.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. So that's kind of retaliation. But that happened in every goal. So it went back. So there were 6 times because the final score being a 3-3 draw. Just it's like a water war, which is not cool because you hope it's just water.
Yeah, right.
And beers and all that stuff. And it's just an odd look. It's just not a good look. I mean, I'm not a fan who condones any of that stuff. I'm gonna yell and scream and sing along and talk all the BS you want. but it's never a good look to be throwing water bottles or water and beers at each other. And let me just say, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to call us out. I'm pretty sure the Galaxy were first because they scored first, but LAFC fans did retaliate, and they went back and forth the whole game.
Yeah.
So that's the honest truth. That's no fake news. I'm unbiased in this. I will say I'm pretty sure Galaxy were first. I didn't see anybody else throw anything up until after.
Yeah.
But there was back and forth. Man. It was, I mean, but it's a Trafico. I guess there's a lot of tension. There's going to be tension, right, between the fan bases, because I felt it too at halftime when it was 1-0, and we went to the concourse just to kind of see what kind of craziness was going out there on the concourse.
Yeah.
And you just felt like a nervous anxiety, energy, excitement all rolled into one. Like you feel that.
Yeah.
It's just that atmosphere. You're at a clásico.
Yeah.
For you, Sonny, a clásico de Los Angeles, right? It's just it's in the air, it's palpable.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, those goal celebrations, something else. The biggest goal celebration, of course, was Jovelic's tying goal when it was tied up at 2.
Oh yeah.
And the way he takes off his shirt, jumps, sits on the scoreboard with other Galaxy supporters there, and it was right in front of us, and he's pointing up at the supporters right above us, and just like Cabral pounding on his crest, kissing it, Legit doing the same, and it was just like, man, this is awesome. This is intense. Even my cousin's like, oh, I like that style. That's dope. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn. And then like Bond sitting on his head, man, making some great saves.
Yeah.
My cousin had to be like, yeah, your goaltender's good. Like for sure. But like, he has no defense in front of him.
That's the problem there.
There's only bit of an issue with that. That's why we're not like higher up on the table there. But
for
man,
real,
this
dude.
game, like you said, man, delivered on everything. It had goals, obviously 6 goals total, 3-3 tie.
Yeah.
They had great defensive stops. Even Romero, LAFC's goalkeeper, made a great stop on a Cabral header. Like,
that's
man,
right.
those were good stops. Like, just that's exactly what you want in a Clásico match like this. Just goal scoring, atmosphere, intense.
Yeah.
It was pretty, like I said, there was like, I honestly got to say, from being there was plenty of Galaxy fans. I wouldn't say it was like a 50-50 split by any chance. I would probably say it was maybe 20%, maybe 30%. It was a nice, healthy splattering of Galaxy fans. We were and then the little bit that were there, we were loud.
Yeah.
I will tell you that much. I don't know if it translated on TV, Donald. What did it sound like to you?
It did. It was pretty loud. You felt the energy throughout the whole game watching it. You just felt that this was intense. The goals definitely made it more, like, if you wanted the proof, was the fact that there was that much goal scoring happening. But yeah, they were really loud. For the most part, I could see like everyone just really getting into it. It definitely made you feel like, man, if this was a minimum $100 event, it's definitely well worth going to. Especially because this is the first El Tráfico with a full a full stadium. Remember, because the last one we went to was limited capacity.
You're right.
We got to see what it's like when it's full on out. It's crazy, you know what I mean? And it was wild. I think as a fan watching it from home on the broadcast, it was definitely, you felt it. You felt the tension. You felt that, that as the goals were happening, that there was more to be, like there was more in the can. Like, I was even looking at like the depth and all that. I'm like, man, Grant Sear's not even in yet. Like, and they're like, damn, I can't wait for him to come in, because that's gonna be like that's like kind of like the shotgun, like, like cocking it again.
Weapon. They don't know how good he is. I totally thought the same. I totally thought the same when he came in.
Like, dang. And then and then LAFC had some great subs coming in. It was intense, but for the most part, I think it was great. And like I said, I wish we had Sonny on. He definitely has to come on. Because
he gave us some pointers, right, about or some takes that he had prior to us recording live, and what he really wanted to convey was he felt like it was a loss to them because of them giving up, I guess, the late goal, right? I mean, and even my cousin, who was sitting next to me, said the same thing when Romero kicked the ball into play on that play. He's like, man, he should have kicked it short and kept possession. And then the Galaxy come back and score the equalizer. It's like, I knew that was going to happen. They're notorious for giving up late goals, and it happened, right? So that's why they were able to get the point there late. I mean, they scored in the 86th minute, man. That's heartbreaking. So how can it not feel like a loss? That was one of Sonny's points he wanted to convey across. He also wanted to convey that their defensive midfield and defense is non-existent. It's like, I mean, join the club. That's MLS defenses, man. I said the same thing. My cousin brought a lot of similar points. LAFC fans are aware. Like, I think my cousin Joseph and Sonny are very similar LAFC fans in the sense where they have a lot of pride and love for their team, but they're also realistic. And I think any good sports fan should be. You got to love your team and want the best for them, but also know your limitations or know your weaknesses, rather. You don't want other opposing fans to point them out to you because you know. So especially when it's somebody you're not close with, you're like, hey man, F you, that team, my team's great. But it's totally true. Like you realize your weaknesses. And he also wanted to convey the fact, cierra penal, that Rossi's tackle there, Araujo's tackle on Rossi in the box and 30 seconds into the game was a penalty. But like we brought up earlier on VAR, it was inconclusive. So you can't
check it out on Twitter.
Check it out, man. Check it out. Retweet it.
I want to say one thing real quick on Araujo. I will say this. The fact that they didn't call it, it still messed with his head because in the next 10 minutes of that match, he started kind of pulling back a little bit more. Like he knew, oh shoot, like I could get like carded at a given moment if I tackle the wrong way and it gets sold the right way. And you could tell for like 10 or 15 minutes, he was still a little shaken from that no call because I think he probably felt in his heart like, damn, they're going to call that. And then they don't. And then they move on. And you could tell he started getting a little bit scared. But then after that, like it was like around after that 25th minute, he started turning on the Jets again. And I think what happened is when the Galaxy started attacking and they started giving him the ball to do the crosses, that's when he started getting more confident. And it felt interesting seeing how, his mentality shaped. And it's funny because Araujo did that play on the Rossi to begin with, and the match ended on his slide tackle to pop the ball out.
You're right.
So it was kind of funny how he started and ended the whole game, but
that's very true.
Definitely
You're right,
was
man.
all over. Given that he did not score a goal, like I would say he was more the man of the match for the LA Galaxy. And
I believe he got the assist on the opening goal, right?
Yeah, he did. He got the assist there. I think there would have been another assist if Leggett didn't get to it afterwards, but Leggett was the one that I think set it up on one of the other goals. I forgot which one it was. But obviously the Cabral one was the one that like it felt like that's where they equalized, and I forgot who was it that poked it inward.
It was I feel like it was Araujo.
Was it Araujo,
was first
right?
Ifra dished it to Araujo,
that's right.
and Araujo dished it back out to a wide open Cabral.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. So, I mean, he was all over the place. He definitely did really good job, and it felt like he really showed up. It's almost like he knew the importance of the match. He's the only one that I would say is deserving of that, even though he didn't really score a goal. I think if it wasn't for him, they probably wouldn't even have 3 goals to draw it. And I remember Nahum he sent me a text. Shout out to Nahum. Because he watched the game too, and he said, like, I don't know, man, it still felt like a loss. And so did Billy. Billy sent me a text saying, oh, man, I don't know why. I wasn't really that impressed. And I felt like it felt like a loss for the Galaxy. And I said, you know what? Like, I think what it is that, like, when a draw happens in any match, if you're the team that was up and then the other team equalizes, you definitely always will feel like you're the one that gave up the game. Right. Because I think if it was 3-2 Galaxy and then LAFC scores, I think it would feel a little different. Like they would feel like, oh man, we made it out. I think for the most part, LAFC fans would still feel a little bit defeated because of the fact that it's like we still can't get the 3 points. And I know there's a lot of rumors like about Bob Bradley. Not that anything's gonna happen. I think it's more like just the fans don't want him there.
Yeah, so. I mean, okay, so go first, leading off with feeling like a loss. I get where Billy and Nahum are coming from on that. The fact that the Galaxy scored first and had the lead at halftime, it feels like you got 45 minutes, hold on to this lead and build on to it. Like it felt like it was our match to win going into that second half, especially because Vanny is really good at making substitutions in the second half where like I feel like we got this, guys. Was
Mhm.
put in one more, or maybe really lay it on them. It felt like this could be a game where they like made a statement.
Yeah.
Like we could win this game 3-0 or 3-1. This is all
Mhm.
we're gonna really cream them in their own house.
Mhm.
And when it didn't happen that way, and you just kind of held on and came back actually to get a point, I could see where it felt like a loss. It didn't feel like a loss like once I left the stadium. Leaving the stadium, it felt like a nice, good, well-earned draw and
Yeah.
a great back-and-forth match. I was shaking hands with a lot of LAFC supporters and fans, like saying, that was a hell of a game, man. Great match. Good to see, see you around next time. Great match.
Yeah.
Great. I will say that LAFC fans should feel that way. It felt like a loss, as much as Sonny said. And really, and going to Bob Bradley now, he feels that LAFC is one loss away, an actual loss, not a draw, but one loss away from ousting Bob Bradley.
Mhm.
A lot of people think that they'll wait to the end of the year to really get rid of him, but how can you not get rid of him after a winless streak of 8 and a loss to your rival? If that would have happened, like, he would have been done. I really think today we'd be talking about breaking news. Bob Bradley is officially let go.
Mhm.
If that would have happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to get another point, work out a draw, either way, it feels like a loss, but still a draw. I really think I don't see why LAFC wouldn't get rid of him in the middle of the season. Like, why wouldn't you, right, Donald?
Yeah. I think for the most part, if you feel like mathematically you're not going to make the playoffs, you might as well just kind of cut it early.
And that's the thing. I'll go one more point that Sonny brought up was he feels that Bob Bradley is one actual loss away, right, from being canned, but yet there's still 2 months to turn it around. Like, what happens if they win the next game? They win 2, and then they lose. Do they still get rid of Bob Bradley? Probably not, right? Like, you've won 2 in a row. You're turning things around a little bit. Cool. Let's give you more time to figure this out. Maybe not until they're actually mathematically eliminated do they decide to get rid of them early. But I could also see why they would want to get rid of them now, especially just right out the season, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I feel like if you do get rid of them now, obviously you got to be ready as a club to face, the whole, like, whoa, you really canned him. And like, what does that say about your club? Like, are you guys the type of people that fire people right away? Like, it's just understanding. Like, I think if this was Manchester United or Barcelona and you can't, that does happen. If you're a terrible manager, like, you get canned within like 3 games or whatever. That's just what the nature of the whole being in those clubs is. Like, they just don't have room for, like, rebuilding. So you get a lot of that, and it would be interesting to see if LAFC did that. Would they be okay being seen that way?
I think you would kind of you wouldn't mind that, right? Like, as much as you want to be a club of class, and we waited till the end of the year to oust our manager, you also have to want to be a club that doesn't accept subpar performances, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to be like, hey, you're just not up to snuff. We got to go a different route.
Yeah.
That's if that's how management feels. I think the fans feel that Bob Bradley is not up to snuff, right?
No.
Like, he's not playing well. But that's us being, outside looking in. Inside the front office, and the team may really be behind him. We don't know, right? We're on the outside looking in.
That's the tough part, right, with the MLS, is that they don't release a lot of things. Like, we don't know player salaries, we don't know injuries. You know what I mean? Like, it's just we just never know, and then we find out weeks and weeks and all that, and then, like you said, we really don't know what they think of their manager. Yeah. Like, are they okay with him? And that's the crazy part, that we, as fans watching this, we could be saying, not that we're making rumors or anything or speculating. Mm-hmm. No, like, Bob Bradley's been pretty terrible. Like, that's just the honest truth. That's what the results have been. Like, that's what, it's like when you get an exam and that's the results you get. That's what the results are showing. But you just, like you said, you just don't know. Maybe there's someone in the front office who's like, nah, Bob's our guy. We love him. We just do. And then you kind of hate when that happens, because it's like, of course he has like an in with somebody that,
he knows somebody really well out there in the front office. But you brought up injuries, and interesting enough, this game delivers on a big stage but didn't have its two big stars.
Mhm.
It didn't have Chicha for the Galaxy, didn't have a Carlos Vela for LAFC, which is why people were saying the attendance was actually so poor for El Tráfico that it wasn't really sold out. I will say, me and my cousin got to the game later than what we normally get there because the traffic up Figueroa was so bad. Going back to your point about the congestion in the area, that it was really, we were in traffic on Figueroa for no joke 40 minutes just to get into the stadium. So, I mean, that's just, it shouldn't happen that way for a 1 mile stretch to take 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So, that's probably why the attendance was so bad early in the game. Like, I think at kickoff, you see a lot of empty seats. And if you look at the video that I took, there's a lot of empty seats right there.
Yeah, we could see that in the broadcast too, that there was like, especially that area where the sun hits, like there was a bunch of spotty sections and whatnot. And I kind of just felt like, well, to me, okay, that this signaled a couple of things to me. One, MLS should never have an El Tráfico during the day. They should really make them evening games because that's like when people would be willing to come and watch it anyways, because I get that it's a big rivalry, and it is. Like, it was so fun to watch. I actually was on the chat with some of the fellow Blue Wire hustlers. Shout out to Blue Wire Hustle. And they were like, yo, this is so much fun. Like, from one of them said from minute 0 to 90, this is insane how crazy good this match was. And the thing is that, like, you see that and you're saying, like, man, like, so many people are tuning into this thing that you should make it where there's definitely like people there if you are the MLS, like in terms of like no excuses. And the thing is, like, it's been really hot in LA lately, and then you're having this match like when the sun is still freaking out and kind of like still burning up, you know. So it's not the most pleasant thing unless you're like super hardcore about it and you're okay with like a suntan. But like, I just feel like these games would serve better in the evening. And like, yeah, like the weekend is fine. Like, make it on the weekend, like on a Saturday night or something. That would be like the most, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was on a Saturday afternoon at 4. I mean, not ideal, but not terrible either. I mean, you have to cut your morning a little bit short. I know I had errands to run that morning. I had to speed through and to catch the game on time. And I think that played into a fact why we got there a little bit, or right down to the wire, right? It would have been, had the game started at 7, we had a perfect time to do it. But I'm with you. I think we should push MLS to start every Trafico Saturday at 7:30. All the time going forward, no matter what, schedule it whenever you want. Saturday at 7:30, no matter where it is on the calendar. Because the next Trafico, the final one this year, is going to be on a Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Sunday at 5. It's like, okay, that's actually prime time on the East Coast, right? Yeah. But it's a Sunday. Will people work the next day? Or are they going to want to stay up late to watch it? I mean, the beauty of soccer is at least it's only a couple of hours. So it should end around 10 o'clock on the East Coast, around 7 o'clock on the West Coast. Yeah. Not too bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like when we watched the Clásico, Madrid versus Barcelona, they're at noon for our time, but it's like already like 8 p.m. or something over there. So
yeah. And those are sometimes mostly on Saturdays, but sometimes they're during the week.
Yeah, sometimes you get the Wednesday, but you know.
But yeah, I think we got to push to make Traficos no matter Clásicos always on the weekends, man. All right, so looking forward now to our, we brought up injuries, and Chicha is on the mend. He is scheduled to come back right now. Greg Vanney is hopeful. This is the first time we're hearing that he's hopeful to have him in the Galaxy's next match, which is on Saturday, September 11th in Colorado. We need him, right? Do we need Chicha out there on that pitch?
Yeah, I feel like we definitely need to see what this is going to look like with him on there. Now that we have Dejan and, you know, Cabral coming into place, and, you know, like the team has gotten better at certain positions, and I just want to see how he's going to be able to gel with all of that. Because when he was there, it felt like everything was kind of being fed through him. And now what's it going to be like when now everybody else kind of has a moment to step up? I mean, Dejan for sure. That kid looks fearless. So that's the guy that I would be like, yeah, I don't know if he's going to want to be feeding Chicha anything. Like kind of like, yeah, like it's like, so we'll see. But yeah, I definitely wait to see how he comes in, just to see how he gels with the rest of the squad.
I'm curious about that front line now with Cabral, Chicha, and Joveljic, Dejan there, up in the front lines, and then the midfield. Would you throw Ravelicin? You have Ravelicin, then you have
Legit.
Dos Santos, Leggett, and then who's the fourth midfielder? Do you put Granzier there?
No, I kind of like Renzier on the wing.
He's better on the wing.
I like him as a wing. Like if you had to, man, that's gonna be tough. I think, yeah, like if either. I mean, I would prefer Granzier over Cabral right now.
Mm-hmm. But so in the mid would be if we do 3-3-4, it would be Yona, Ravelicin, Leggett, and then the back four would be Villafana, Williams, Sega Coulibaly, and Araujo. So I mean, man, that's a good starting 11.
You could, that's true. You could put the thing is like even though Vasquez is a little on the up, like kind of like the older type, like with Kljestan, like I kind of like the way he puts it, especially with the way he curls those balls. He could deliver on that end, but I know that I don't know if 90 minutes of him is something we can get from him. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I completely agree with you. He's a either a first half starter or a second half sub, but he definitely should only be playing 45 minutes a match.
Yeah.
I don't think he's good for. I don't think we should put him out there for 90 or anything close to that. But I mean, this Galaxy 11 has potential, like we've always talked about, but it's just a matter of them gelling and being healthy at the same time and seeing if they buy into Vanny, because Vanny is really, really, really awesome, man. I really think we have a good manager here who's really turned the team around. LAFC fans can't relate, but it's really great to have a manager that the team is buying into right now. So it's exciting MLS stuff right now, right, D-Bot?
Yes, it is. It is. And I think, so you said the September 11th is when Chicharito is scheduled to come back. And I believe that's the first match. So they're going on a couple weeks break.
Yes, there's an international break coming up here. They're going to take the Labor Day weekend off and come back for that September 11th game. LAFC's next match is Friday, September 3rd at home against Sporting KC.
That's tough, dude. Sporting KC's on a roll.
Yeah, this whole Western Conference is tough, man. Seattle's tough. They just lost actually their rivalry week game against Portland. Portland's coming back up now. Sporting KC second place, Colorado in third, and Galaxy in fourth with only 2 points back and a 5-point lead on Minnesota, who's in fifth. LAFC right now. Are you ready? Are you ready, Sonny? Are you ready, LAFC fans? Currently sit in 11th place, but only 3 points out of a playoff spot in 7th.
Yeah, they did mention that in the broadcast that this win for El Trafico actually would have meant more for LAFC, which is probably why it feels like so much of a loss, because the win would have put them above the playoff line. The only thing they did say is that it will only put them up for a couple of hours given the other results, which wouldn't have happened anyways because Seattle lost. But I guess it was one of those like, they could have gotten pushed down later when the other results coming in. But at least it would have given the team hope that they were already like in a playoff picture. But yeah, so that's the crazy part about that.
I love the way this entire podcast has been over 40 minutes of just El Trafico talk and MLS talk. That's how that's how big El Trafico is to us, man. It's so awesome. And it delivered, man. Like you said, man, your line is your words there are totally true. It's like it's amazing that it could deliver without any like big star players, right? Like no Zlatan, no Vela, no Chicha. Like it just still delivered because the way these clubs have this animosity and their fans have this animosity toward each other. So it just wakes all the players and the fans up for it. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. I think that's one thing we should all realize as fans of both of these teams, that we're treated to this. Like we don't like take this for granted, but also treat it with the respect it deserves. Like talk all your crap to those fans because you should, but also don't disrespect them either, because realize, like, in the sense we're like throwing bottles and stuff at each other or getting into any kind of physical altercations. Don't do that, because realize that you guys are both fans of the game and you should appreciate that with each other. I'm not saying be like exchange scarves and hug them afterwards or anything like that. I'm not saying all that, but just treat each other with respect afterwards.
Yeah.
Don't get into fists. Like just like boo the heck out of each other. Like don't just treat each other with respect after the match.
Yeah,
for sure, because that's what I did with a lot of LAFC fans. LAFC fans did the same to me, treated me with respect after the match. So you just try to do that to your other football fans, man, and you'll be a lot better for it. So going from MLS football, MLS soccer to American football, our draft is officially over while we've been recording this. And I got to say, I like this about Yahoo Sports, D-Bot. They sent me my draft report card.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I think you got to check your email inbox.
Yeah.
I got my draft report card. But before we get to our draft report cards, while you look that up, the NFL is going to get started next week. So we got 2 weeks, actually, for the kickoff for September 12th. My LA Rams are hosting the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football, D-Bot.
Uh-oh.
And I got to say, as a Rams fan, that's going to be a tough matchup. Luckily, they're at home, opening up the beautiful SoFi Stadium.
Dang.
Like I said, I got to see that live and in person last weekend. I will say, after being at SoFi Stadium and being at the new Yankee Stadium back in 2008, they both have the same vibe as when you walk in, you feel like you're walking into a mall, not really a stadium. And only because it's so aesthetically pretty and and it's clean, right? Like when you walk into stadiums, it has, not that it's dirty, but like it has this concrete vibe, gritty vibe to it. Like any stadium does. Not that it's a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
But these stadiums are so clean and pristine that you feel like you're in a mall, not so much a stadium. That's the one, quote unquote, negative to it. It's not really negative. It's just, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
And the stadium, our seats were way up in the top in the 500 level. I will say this, not a bad view even from way up there.
Wow.
So to have that, like, from sitting way up there, looking down, yes, you're far, you're not seeing them clearly. I wasn't seeing those bookies like if I was right in front of them, but it's just like, man, I could still make out the stage and make out the sound. And it's, by the way, the sound for a concert there sounded good.
Yeah.
The mix, everything sounded lively and clear. It didn't sound muffled like you get at most stadiums. So I will say that's not a bad place to see a concert. So SoFi Stadium, all this to say, LA Rams opening up at SoFi Stadium, Chicago Bears, Sunday Night Football. Who do your Chargers got, D-Bot?
The Chargers have, let me see. I should have known.
The Los Angeles Football Chargers at SoFi, our roommates, if you will, at SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the Chargers are playing the Washington football team on Sunday, September 12th at 10 a.m. So we got the early morning game, which means that by like 1, I'll probably be either super happy or super sad. So we'll see.
Well, Washington football team still hasn't come up with a name yet, right? They're not the Washington Guardians, or is that the other team?
No, that's that's the team. Oh man,
that's a Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah,
that's right. Sorry,
that's true.
I get them confused.
That's crazy. How does baseball like right away get their team renamed, and Washington's doing this? Like, think we're like, what are they holding out for? Like, I mean,
I think it's a merch thing. Is that what they said originally? Like, they have to like figure something out with like the merch that they have and get rid of it. It costs a lot to print new stuff or something, because that's why the Rams, I know, took so long to change their logo.
Yeah,
I mean, they took 1 year to do it, but it's just like Washington football team figured it out already. Come up with a name, dude.
Yeah, it felt like was it last season when they debuted the new logo, and it felt weird that like, the way we all found out was through some person leaking that the hats arrived and that the logo was on it already, and it was kind of like, oh, people were like, oh, that's the new logo. Like, dang, that sucks for the Rams. They didn't get to do like the official like press release, someone like leaked it.
But it makes sense. That Rams logo is terrible. I don't like it. It still hasn't really grown on me yet.
No.
I accept it as the logo. Obviously, what else can I do?
Yeah.
But it's just like, man, I just don't like it. Like I'm not rushing out to buy the LA Rams jersey. Like I rushed out to buy the LA Galaxy community kit because that kit is awesome. But also for Sunday and Mono, we got to let you guys know the San Francisco 49ers open their season Sunday, September 12th, opening week against at Detroit Lions. 10 a.m. game also, so you and Sonny could live chat your teams at that point. Let's see what you guys are up to. I could sleep in a little bit on Sunday morning.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So that means we won't be taping this till like way later then, because we have to wait for the Sunday night results.
I mean, you guys could tape without me at that point. You guys could get on the same Zoom call, and I'll just chime in as I'm watching the game live.
Yeah,
but I'll let you know because that's the NFL. But our fantasy draft, I got my grade in, and apparently I was graded by Yahoo Fantasy Sports. My draft grade is a letter B.
Ooh.
I got it. I had a B grade on my draft, so that's I'm assuming that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is good. It's better than C. So,
I mean, that's good. That's what B means when you're in school. A B grade.
Yeah.
My best pick was Michael Carter. I had a tremendous late round bargain when I selected Michael Carter in the 15th round. My stretch pick, Greg Zuerlein.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I wanted Matt Gay, but I had to settle for a former Ram, Greg the Leg Zuerlein.
Yeah, Greg the Leg. I got a C.
How did you do?
I got a C. They said
D-bot.
So Yahoo says, as you know, the C is short for championship.
Yes.
So yeah, it's cool. I mean, it didn't really highlight any players. Just like, yeah.
Oh no, maybe you got to actually view the report card from the
here
email.
You go. Yeah, view report card.
Yeah, once you view the report card, you'll get the full on analysis thanks to Yahoo Sports and Stu Holden.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's crazy. Stu Holden.
Stu Holden's doing this draft analysis though.
Yeah. So my best pick was actually Raheem Mostert, running back for the Niners, which I think I got like it was my first bench player.
Oh wow!
After I got all my starters, and then my reach pick was Hunter Henry. He's a tight end with the New England Patriots. He was drafted by the Chargers and spent like his whole rookie contract with the Chargers the first 4 years, but. Oh, wow. He was a free agent. I was hoping they were going to keep him because he's really good. But I guess I'm assuming the Chargers were just like, yeah, we're not going to give you we're not going to do you're going to re-sign for a lot more money thing. And then I guess New England was like, we'll re-sign you for more money. And then that's what happened.
Nice. So now that the listeners know, we'll obviously be updating everybody on our official Twitter and Instagram pages.
Yeah.
How this fantasy season plays out for us. D-Bot and I are involved. Rick's involved, and on our Discord group, we got definitely Billy and Naham who are highly active on our Discord group. Yeah. So they're involved also. It's going to be a fun NFL season.
Yeah.
At least to watch for the fantasy standpoint, because I know I'm not going to do well, but I still want to enjoy it. D-Bot, that's it for us this week, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, everybody, see ya.
Later.